Blues Creek guitars. This is going to be kind of a little bit of an addendum to the next set addendum. My friend Glenn gave me an idea about we need to show people how to maneuver a neck. When you're setting up at your neck and you're shooting down your center line, sometimes you're to the right or to the left. So how do you know how to move it? Well, I hope that this exercise is going to show you. Obviously, when you think about this, right here, that part of the heel, sitting against the neck block, is going to determine the placement of the neck. In plain words, this heel is going to determine this. It's also going to determine that, the forward neck. So, how do I know where to move it? In fact, let's do this. Okay, obviously, dovetail, dovetail. So, if I got to move it this way, obviously, if I need to raise the line up at the bridge, I have to take it off at the heel. So, you can actually kind of cheat a little bit and take tape. And this will give you an idea of how much you have to take off. Now remember this, when you're in your neck block, okay, and you don't take anything off up here, you aren't going to swing it. But let's say you got to swing this 1/8 of an inch at the bottom, and you want to make it move to the treble side. So if you want to move it to the treble side, you have to take off at the base. And the opposite of that is you'd put on at the treble side to make it move over. Well, obviously you can't do that. So that will tell you if you have to move to the treble, you take off the bass. Obviously, if you got to move it to the bass, you got to take off the treble. So if you sit down and think about this, in this, and how you got to manipulate that, so you can tell it, see if you got to swing it to the right that much, that's how much you'd have to take off the on the opposite side. So remember that. This all, that part there determines the placement of the neck. Up, down, right, left. So constantly think about that. When I set a neck, I generally put a couple of hash marks on here, and as I'm working with my block or my chisel, I know I have a landmark where I have to go. I generally like to do the center line first, this part. So if I'm doing my center line first, this way and this way, once I have that centered up, even though my angle is wrong, as long as I don't touch up here and I work down here, I'm not going to change my center line. So, I hope that makes sense to you. Up here, kind of consider that your hinge pin. So once you get your center line locked, removing off the sides, and you have to remove all, not just one point, to get your center line, then you can start removing the tapered portion in order to adjust your neck angle. I often say angle, center line, elevation. You can do it the other way, but if you don't have a lot of neck block, you don't have a lot of neck out of the neck block, do the center line first, and then worry about getting down. If you need to shim, that's perfectly okay. If you'd have to shim that up, that's fine. You can do that. So I hope that this little exercise shows you how you can move it left to right, and how you can move it up and down. Alright? If I do neck resets, I never have to touch up here. Never. It's all down here because I got to take it and I'm actually moving a little bit more down here than I am up here. It's a tapered, feathered cut. Okay? Again, one last time. Center line. Elevation. And just, when you look at the guitar body, think about this. From here to your bridge, from here down, it's a 4-to-1 move. If you got to come up a 16th, that's 62 thousandths. Divide by 4, now we're talking what? 15 thousandths. So remember that. Look at the amount and the ratio. From here to here is 1.5 inches. To the bottom of the guitar is 20 inches. So you're talking about probably a 14 to 1. So if you got to move it 1/8, we're talking 10 thousandths. So use those kind of the mental note so you know the relationship of how much you got to move and how far you got to swing. Thanks again. Next set addendum. Next set addendum. Bye. I would like a dovetail. We're creating editing work for our friend Glenn. Glad to help you out.
Dovetail.